At a dinner with her friends, she laughed and called me spiritually broke. They all giggled like it was clever, like I was some soulless ATM machine. I smiled through it, pretended it didn't sting. But a week later, I saw her tagged in a poolside brunch photo on someone else's lap. Turns out, spiritual wealth wears designer shades and drives a Tesla. My name's Darren. I'm 29, a freelance video editor in Austin. I live in a decent apartment, pay my bills, drive a clean Toyota. Not flashy, but stable. My girlfriend Julia, though, she was on a minimalist journey. No labels, no greed, no capitalist traps. She'd mock couples who posted luxury trips. But she still wanted Bali. Still complained that I was too grounded. Like having a 401k was a moral flaw. I ignored the digs. I thought it was just her being idealistic. Until she left me for someone with a Tesla and a rooftop sauna. It was supposed to be a laid-back Sunday brunch. Julia had picked the spot, some airy cafe downtown where every dish had edible flowers and the menus came on recycled paper. Her crew was already seated when we arrived. Painters, tarot readers, one girl who claimed she could speak to plants. I didn't fit in. I knew that. But I played along, ordered an oat milk cappuccino, and tried not to check my phone. Somewhere between the vegan Benedicts and the third mimosa, the conversation turned to relationships. That's when Julia, smiling, effortlessly charming, clinked her glass and said, "Say what you will, Darren's got excellent credit. He meditates with spreadsheets." They laughed. Loudly. One guy chimed in. "Oh, so he's your financial planner/boyfriend?" Another, "You're dating a walking 401k. Even Tasha, who once told me I was the only stable guy Julia had ever dated, covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Julia didn't correct them. She didn't say, "Hey, that's not fair." She just sipped her mimosa like the moment didn't matter. I laughed too. Too hard. Because that's what you do when you realize you're not in the room. You're the joke they're sharing in it. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't wanted to believe. I was never her mirror, just her anchor, until she could afford to float. Later that night, I brought it up. We were on the couch. Her legs were in my lap, a blanket half draped over us like everything was fine. The muted glow of the salt lamp lit her cheekbones in that soft, Instagrammable way. "Hey," I started, careful, too careful. "That brunch thing, what you said about me, the credit jokes." Julia turned her head, slow and calculated. "What about it?" I gave a half laugh, still trying to be gentle. It just felt a little off. Like, I don't know. I was the only one at the table getting laughed at. She rolled her eyes. Not big and dramatic. Just enough to let me know how tired she was of this already. "Darren, it was banter. My friend's joke. You know that." "Yeah, but it didn't feel like a joke." She pulled her legs away, sat upright, and looked at me like I'd just accused her of burning down a church. "God," she said, "you're so sensitive sometimes. Everything has to mean something with you. You can't just let things go." I bit the inside of my cheek. Because this wasn't the first time. There was the time she told her cousin I wasn't emotionally adventurous, and then brushed it off as playful honesty. The time she laughed at my thrift store jacket and said it gave me divorced substitute teacher energy in front of her ex. Every time I brought something up, I became the problem. Overreacting, overanalyzing, overthinking. "Darren," she said now, "you know I love you. But if you keep turning everything into a therapy session, it's going to smother us." I nodded. What else could I do? She leaned over, kissed me on the cheek. "You've got to lighten up. Let it breathe a little. Not everything's a trauma response." That was Julia's favorite phrase lately. Trauma response. Ever since she started reading pop psych blogs and listening to podcasts about emotional minimalism. To her, feelings were clutter. And I was the hoarder. We didn't speak much after that. She went to bed early. I stayed on the couch, scrolling through old photos of us on my phone. In the early ones, we looked happy. Chaotic, but real. Road trips in her old Honda. Cheap sushi on our anniversary. The night we built a fort in my living room with Christmas lights and wine. Now, everything felt like a set piece. A filtered feed. A brand. I was starting to suspect that the only part of me Julia still loved was the one that didn't speak up. And I couldn't stop wondering. Was she falling out of love with me? Or just out of excuses to stay? 3 days passed. Julia stayed vague. Dry texts. No emojis. Busy with work. Even though I knew her freelance schedule inside out. Then Tasha texted me. Tasha, the best friend. The one who once told Julia, half drunk on Prosecco, "If you ever let Darren go, I'm taking him for myself." I'd laughed. Julia had rolled her eyes. But now, here was Tasha again, sliding into my inbox like she'd been watching the storm roll in. "Hey, just wanted to say I get where you're coming from. She's in a weird place. Don't take it personally. She does this sometimes. Pushes people away when she's overwhelmed." It felt comforting, familiar, like maybe someone still had my back in all this. Give her space. She'll come around. You're the stable one. She knows that. I almost believed it. That night, I made pasta, lit candles, left her a plate in the fridge, a quiet olive branch. I didn't hear back. Instead, the next morning, I opened Instagram and saw Tasha's story. Rooftop pool, sunset drinks, tag location, a luxury condo downtown. Julia was there. So was he. I paused the video, zoomed in. Same guy from before, the Tesla guy. Shirt unbuttoned just enough to show off a minimalist chest tattoo. He was pouring wine into Julia's glass. Her laugh wasn't the polite kind. It was the belly deep, you get me kind. The kind I hadn't heard in weeks. Tasha was filming. Tasha was laughing. So much for being overwhelmed. So much for space. So much for that damn text about me being the stable one. And then it hit me. I wasn't just being replaced. I was being phased out, like legacy software they no longer supported. And worse, they were treating it like a lifestyle upgrade. That night, I didn't text Julia. I didn't ask where she was. Instead, I opened my notes app and started writing everything down. Not because I was planning revenge. Not yet. But because the moment you realize everyone's lying to you, you start documenting. The next time I saw Julia, it wasn't in person. It was through a screen. Bright daylight. Poolside. Someone else's penthouse. The video auto-played while I was brushing my teeth. Just another tag story in a feed I hadn't unfollowed yet. Her legs stretched across a lounge chair, cocktail in hand. That effortless laugh she gave when she wanted to seem carefree. And sitting beside her, him. Tesla guy. Beard like he trimmed it with a compass. Expensive, but earthy. He was wearing a Porsche racing jacket and Birkenstocks. The caption? Soul Fam alignment is everything. His hand was on her thigh. She let it stay there. I paused it. Rewatched. Froze it again. That hand. The same hand she once called predatory when a stranger touched her lower back in a grocery store. The same kind of possessive grip she claimed reduced women to arm candy. Now it was spiritual alignment. I stared at that screen like it owed me an explanation. But none came. Only silence and clout-chasing hashtags. I tapped through the next few stories. One from Tasha, laughing in the background. One from Julia, a slow pan of avocado toast, gold bracelets, a filtered skyline. No sign of guilt. No mention of me. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind played the footage on a loop, slower each time, like I'd catch some hidden message in her smile. By 2 a.m., I was back on her profile. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. Deep scroll. Back to the months we were still good. There were still photos of us. One from our trip to Santa Fe. She was on my shoulders, arms stretched toward the sky. Captioned, "Sometimes stability is the adventure." That post was still up. She hadn't deleted it. She'd just buried it under reels of rooftop brunches and crypto-spiritual retreats. And that told me everything. Julia wasn't rewriting the past. She was rebranding it. And I was the soft launch before the real awakening. I closed the app. But something had cracked. Not just the illusion, but the part of me that still wanted to believe her version. She wasn't confused. She wasn't torn. She was already gone. And now I was done pretending I couldn't see it. 2 days later, she texted me out of nowhere. "Can we talk?" I think I messed up. It was 11:47 p.m. I was half asleep, phone face down, trying not to check it every 10 minutes like some lovesick fool. But when I saw her name, my stomach flipped. Not anger. Not even relief. Just that dangerous little flicker of hope. I typed back, "Sure. When?" She replied instantly, "I'm outside." My pulse jumped. I threw on a hoodie, stepped outside barefoot. She was sitting on the steps, hugging her knees, hair in a messy bun like she knew I liked it. No makeup. No filter. Just Julia. She looked up, eyes red. "Hey," she said, voice soft. I didn't know where else to go. I opened the door. Let her in. She walked past me like she still lived here. Sat on the couch. The same spot where we used to watch movies and fall asleep halfway through. I made tea. Because that's what you do when you're still in love with someone who might be lying. She told me everything, or so I thought. Said she didn't know what she wanted anymore. Said she missed me, that it didn't feel right with him, that I made her feel safe, grounded, seen. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, because somewhere under the bruises, I still remembered how it felt to matter. We sat like that, fingers laced, the tea going cold. She didn't kiss me, but she didn't need to. The message was clear. This wasn't over. And stupidly, I believed it. She left around 2 a.m., hugged me tight, said she'd figure things out. I didn't sleep. I spent the next day distracted, smiling at texts she didn't send. I even cleaned the apartment, the way I used to before date nights. Just in case. Then, around noon, I opened Instagram. There she was. Same rooftop. Same brunch crew. And him. He was holding her mimosa while she posed. Mid-laugh. Lips slightly parted like she was born for the camera. His arm was around her waist. The caption? Clarity feels good. I stared at the words. Clarity. As in, she came to my apartment, cried in my arms, held my hand, and then walked right back into his. That's when it hit me. That night wasn't regret. It was insurance. She hadn't come back to rebuild anything. She came back to make sure I wouldn't make a mess on the way out. And for a moment, I admired the strategy. A week passed. No messages. No explanations. Just posts. Filtered, smiling, curated like a lifestyle brand. Julia and her new world. Tesla guy. Smooth jazz. Raw cacao ceremonies. I unfollowed her. Then refollowed. Then muted. Then unmuted. Healing, apparently, wasn't linear. Then I got a message from Corey, one of our mutual friends. Neutral territory. A graphic designer who spoke in fonts and only owned linen. He invited me to a small gathering at his new place. Just a few people, good vibes, he said. I asked, Julia going? He paused. Maybe. I think she's bringing that guy. But no pressure. Come if you want. I didn't want to. But I went. Because some part of me still needed to see her. Not on a screen, not frozen in a frame, but real, flawed, maybe guilty. Corey's loft was dimly lit, full of Edison bulbs and awkward hugs. I walked in, tried to smile. And then I saw them. Julia, in a long green dress that looked effortless and expensive. Tesla guy, standing behind her, like a monument to conscious masculinity. She saw me. Lit up. Darren, she said, like I'd just returned from war. She hugged me. Too long. Too soft. Too public. He shook my hand like we were teammates. Hey man, I've heard a lot about you, he said. Like this wasn't the most bizarre moment of my year. Like we weren't the before and after of the same broken promise. I tried not to flinch. Tried not to look like I hadn't slept in days. They talked to me like I was a friend. Offered me kombucha. Asked about my editing projects. I nodded. Laughed politely. All while watching their fingers casually intertwine. At one point she said, I'm really glad you came. This shows a lot of growth. Growth. Like this was therapy. Like being ambushed by your ex and her upgrade was some kind of spiritual test. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Because right then, I understood something. They weren't trying to make peace. They were trying to script the ending. They wanted me to play the role of emotionally mature ex, so they could keep posting guilt-free. They wanted me to clap for the wedding I was never invited to. But I wasn't their character. I was their editor. And I had notes. It happened after the second glass of wine. We were all sitting in a loose circle, mismatched cushions, incense burning, soft music humming like some sort of adult kindergarten. Julia sat across from me, barefoot, legs tucked under her like she was preparing for enlightenment. The topic drifted, from astrology, to trauma cycles, to communication styles. That's when she said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. Honestly, I think one of the hardest parts of our breakup was Darren's emotional rigidity. I blinked. Everyone turned to look at me. She smiled, that innocent, just being honest smile. Like, you were present, but not open. You'd listen, but you wouldn't feel. It always felt like I was dating a spreadsheet. Laughter. Tasha chuckled. Someone sipped their drink awkwardly. Tesla guy put a hand on her knee like he was congratulating her for surviving. I didn't say a word. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I knew what this was. This wasn't vulnerability. This was branding. She was telling her version of the breakup. To a live audience. Painting herself as the one who tried. Who felt deeply. And me? The emotionally constipated ex who just didn't get it. I could have argued. Said that I was the one who cooked her meals when she had panic attacks. That I held her through nights she claimed the world was falling apart. That I funded 2 of her healing retreats when she was unemployed. But I didn't. Because the moment I defended myself, I'd lose. It wasn't about facts. It was about narrative. They didn't want truth. They wanted a villain. And I wasn't going to give them one. So I smiled, nodded, took a sip of my drink. Then I said calmly, "You're right, Julia. I was rigid. Especially when it came to honesty. That one line, just enough to sting." She blinked, caught off guard. Tasha tilted her head. Tesla guy cleared his throat. I stood up, slow and measured. Placed my glass on the table. "Thanks for the invite," I said. This was illuminating. And I walked out. No yelling. No storming. Just silence. Because sometimes silence isn't defeat, it's rehearsal. And I was just getting started. The MacBook was in my closet, under a pile of winter clothes I hadn't touched since February. It used to be hers. She left it behind during one of her "I need space" phases, the one that ended with tears and tea, and maybe we can rebuild. She never asked for it back. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she didn't care. Or maybe she assumed I'd never open it. She assumed wrong. One night, a week after the gathering, I powered it up. To my surprise, no password. Just a soft ding and a faded wallpaper of a forest in Tulum. I wasn't proud of what I was doing. But pride left the building the moment she called me a spreadsheet at a spiritual dinner party. Her browser history was boring. Pinterest boards, breathwork tutorials, a vegan chili recipe she never cooked. But her email, that's where I found it. A thread with the subject line: exit plan. Sender, Tasha. Recipient, Julia. I clicked. Dozens of messages. Dates. Timelines. Tasha. Start by planting seeds. Make it sound like you're losing yourself. Use, values mismatch. It's vague, but sounds deep. Julia. I told him he's materially safe, but spiritually hollow. He didn't even push back. God, this is working. Screenshots of my texts. Clipped. Mocked. A list titled "Reasons He'll Be Okay." He's logical. He's stable. He doesn't cry. He has a Toyota. He'll survive. And then, the kicker, a paragraph she wrote like a pitch deck. I'll say I need to find my light. That I still care about him, but I need growth. If I do it gently, he won't even blame me. He'll internalize it. That's the goal. That's the goal. I stared at the screen. Not just betrayal, but design. She hadn't broken up with me. She offboarded me. Like I was a job she'd outgrown. My chest tightened, then relaxed. Weirdly, it helped. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't oversensitive. I wasn't rigid. I was played. But now, I had something she didn't expect. Receipts. Not just gossip. Not speculation. Proof. So I gathered it calmly. Screenshots. Message threads. Dates. Created a zip file. Named it. For closure. Then I started working on something else. Something better. A short film. Titled Spiritual Debt, a Minimalist Breakup. 3 minutes. Narrated. Anonymous. But real. She thought she was the only one who could tell stories. Turns out, I edit them better. I didn't text her. No confrontation. No demands. Just an email. Subject line, for closure. No message body, just the zip file. Screenshots. Email threads. A neatly organized folder named Strategy and Betrayal. Timestamps intact. Then I waited. An hour passed. Then 2. At 10:42 p.m., a message from her. Darren, I can't believe you went through my stuff. I trusted you. Ah yes, the irony. The woman who storyboarded my emotional collapse was suddenly waving the privacy flag. I didn't reply. Instead, I uploaded my short film to our old shared Google Drive. The one we used when she was still into co-creating art. Title, Spiritual Debt, a Minimalist Breakup. 3 minutes. Black and white. Voiceover. Calm, anonymous. It started like this. When someone says you're safe, they don't always mean loved. Sometimes, they mean convenient. Clips of hands letting go. A pair of shoes walking out of frame. A Tesla door closing. Then the screenshots. Censored names. Highlighted phrases. Just enough for those who knew. To know. Final line. Spirituality without integrity is just performance. I didn't send it to her. Didn't post it under my name. But the internet is curious. Someone on Reddit found it. Shared it under r/breakups with the caption. This hits harder than any therapy session I've had. It got traction. A week later, I saw someone on Twitter say, Imagine dumping your man for a spiritually aligned dude and ending up in a breakup documentary. I never confirmed it was me. Didn't need to. But Julia? She felt it. She turned off comments on her Instagram, deleted the photo of the cacao circle, stopped posting stories of healing Sundays. One by one, her little tribe started going quiet. Even Tasha, queen of vibes, switched her account to private. I got a DM from someone we barely knew, an old mutual from yoga class. Just saw the film. Damn. Quiet power. Respect. That's the thing about truth. When spoken calmly, it's 10 times louder. No revenge post. No tell-all rant. Just clarity, rendered in high definition. It had been 3 months. Life had settled into a quiet rhythm. I took on new clients. Started jogging again. Bought new sheets. Rearranged my workspace. Little rituals of reclamation. Julia became background noise. Sometimes her name popped up in conversations. A friend of a friend mentioned she was taking a break from social media to realign. Someone else said she moved in with the Tesla guy, in a loft with floor-to-ceiling windows and no curtains. I didn't care. At least, not most days. Until one Sunday. Whole Foods. I was comparing almond milks, oat versus unsweetened vanilla, when I heard it. Her voice. That half-laugh, half-apology tone she used when she wanted to sound soft. I turned. There she was. Hair longer. Less styled. Wearing flats and a sweatshirt that looked too expensive to be casual. Next to her, him. Tesla guy. Except now, he looked tired. The glow was gone. The jawline beard looked patchy. He held the cart like he didn't know what was in it. Julia noticed me. She froze for half a second, just long enough. Then she smiled. Not warmly. Not cruelly. Just politely. Like I was someone she once sat next to on a long flight. I nodded. Then turned back to the almond milk. Chose oat. Put it in the cart. Walked past them. Aisle, register, parking lot. No words. No second glance. She didn't follow. Didn't text later. Didn't like any of my quiet, non-specific Instagram posts. And I didn't post anything about her either. Because this wasn't about revenge. Not anymore. It was about removal. She had edited me out of her story like I was a phase. So I edited her out of mine like she was a glitch. Still, some nights, when I close the laptop, I think about one thing. The apartment she shares with him? $3,800 per month. No door between the bedroom and living room. Open concept. Like their relationship, I guess. They meditate together now. Led workshops on sacred detachment. But detachment doesn't pay rent. And spiritual alignment doesn't fix lies. So I wonder, is finding yourself still worth the monthly price tag? Or was I just the cheaper chapter in her search for validation? Would you have exposed her? Or just let her keep pretending she found peace? Let me know below.